Welcome into Catch the Spirit from Club Med at Sandpiper Bay in Port St. Lucie, Florida. I'm Craig Hoffman. It has been a very weird week, and in a video that by the time that you are hearing this is out now, we talk a little bit more about, we put out some stuff from our owner, Steve Baldwin, so you can catch up on what's been going on down here, and then from the content side, if you want to know a little bit more, we have a video that's out on all of our platforms now with kind of what we're trying to do. Too long didn't read it version. We don't know what to do. We want to be there for you, our fans, our supporters who want content, and we are hoping that this podcast and the ones that we're going to do in the coming days can be a little bit of an escape from a very, very weird week for all of us. It's been incredibly unprecedented. But we feel like as everyone's cooped up at home, as long as we can do stuff and do it safely, then let's do it. And with that in mind, sitting a safe social distance away from me is Crystal Thomas, forward for your Washington Spirit. And so, Crystal, it's been a weird week, but I appreciate you doing this, and we're going to have some fun. And that's something that we've been trying our best to do down here, but we're going to hopefully succeed at in the next 30 minutes or so.
Yeah, definitely. It's great to be here, and I'm really excited to have a nice chat.
So we're going to talk about you and your very cool soccer journey career that has landed you here. I do want to talk about the single most used moment of my 2-month tenure has been your goal last year against Orlando. Everything that I do is like, I know what perfectly goes here. Let's go to Crystal just sniping Ashlyn Harris. So I want to talk about that moment. But during the week, as Bernie Kelsch, our director of marketing, who's down here with us, as we were kicking around all these different ideas of like, how do we create content? What are things we can do? Bernie, one point this week goes, it'd be fun to do reverse interviews and have the players interview us.
Totally.
And I mentioned that to you, and you're like, yes, I want to do that. And then you took it super seriously. You have probably done more research on me than I have done on you.
You know, if I'm going to do it, I got to do it right.
And so earlier tonight, I get a LinkedIn request from Crystal Thomas. We are now friends on LinkedIn, and you wanted to start with this.
Yes.
Which basically is going to make me look bad when I interview you and don't do it as well as you interview me.
No, I think you'll be all right. Your LinkedIn profile was great, but I haven't got to know you that well, so this will be a great chance.
Because you've been in Australia, and so we haven't had a chance to work. This is actually the first piece of content that we are doing together.
Yes.
We have, just so people know, all of the cool things that you've seen with like Motivation Monday, and I guess for you it'd be When I Made It. You will have the chance to record those once we can set all that up, because that requires a lot of crew and a lot of people, things that we can't do right now. But there will be Crystal Thomas editions, but the podcast is the first thing. And I'm stalling right now, but
I see that.
All right, let's do it. Crystal is now going to interview me, and let's see how this goes.
All right, Craig. So first of all, we're really happy to have you at the Spirit.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Just love the stuff that we've seen so far, and I think the fans are enjoying it, and that's huge. I know that you've worked at a variety of places and in different experiences. You were ESPN, an on-air personality, which is awesome. I wanted to hear a little bit about what that was like, what your experiences were.
Yeah, so I worked for ESPN in 2 different capacities. First as an intern, and that's when I was at big ESPN in Bristol, Connecticut. And I'll circle back to that because I think that's cool. The on-air stuff was with their affiliate in Dallas.
Okay.
So it was ESPN Radio, but it was weird because we got bought out about 4 months in, so we were still an ESPN Radio affiliate. But for the first 4 months I was working there, Mickey Mouse was on my check, and that was very cool.
I love that.
I was doing updates during national radio shows, so like our local updates during the national shows. But I got a chance to do some really cool stuff. And probably the coolest thing was on Christmas Eve one year, I basically lucked into doing a hit on SportsCenter.
Oh my goodness.
Which was nuts. And I thought it was like at 2:00 in the afternoon. So I thought it was going to be on ESPN News. And all of a sudden after I'm on, and it was something on the Cowboys. It was late in the season, obviously in December. And it was on the Dallas Cowboys. And I did a really good job on it, thankfully. And part of it was I wasn't that nervous because I didn't think a lot of people would be watching.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden I'm getting all of these texts and I'm very confused. And instead, apparently that was on because it was Christmas Eve. The normal ESPN News 2:00 SportsCenter that nobody watches was on ESPN and everybody's home. And so I was on ESPN, on SportsCenter, on TV at the age of 24. It was kind of nuts. But in Bristol was really cool because it is legitimately like Disney World. No pun intended on them being owned by the Walt Disney Company, but like Disney World for sports fan. It is just like the This Is Sports Center commercials. Like you walk in there and you don't know what you're going to see or who you're going to see on any given day. I literally at one point saw the Stanford tree around the back of the building, like the mascot. And then probably the funniest story that our audience would like is I was there in the summer of 2011. So right after the women came in second in the World Cup, Alex Morgan and Hope Solo visited campus, and Hope Solo is from the same very small part of Washington that Colin Cowherd, who was a host at ESPN at the time, was from. And I just remember them going back and forth, and they're literally dragging Hope out of the studio because she's got to go to her next thing. Yeah. Colin just goes, "I know your whole life." And it was a good time.
Love that. Okay, so thanks for sharing a little bit about that. I know that was just a small piece of it, but you've also worked for the Redskins as a reporter, and now you're working here. So what are some of the differences with that?
This answer could get me in a lot of trouble. So I worked for 106.7 The Fan and another radio station covering the Redskins. And so the biggest difference, obviously, in my jobs now is like I work for the Spirit. I work in my mind, I essentially work for you guys. I work for the players as much as I work for anyone, as opposed to working as an independent journalist. So like that's the biggest difference in my role. In terms of the Redskins and the Spirit as organizations, obviously, the Redskins are on a much bigger scale with everything because the NFL has been around for 100 years and they have billions and billions of dollars. And while the NWSL has done an incredible job as a women's soccer league, it is, 9 years old? And so we're still in the infancy of what we're hoping to accomplish. And I think we're taking massive, great steps in all of that. And I'm not just saying that because I work here. I'm saying that because I truly believe it. I believe in what Steve, our owner, is doing and the pushes he's making at the league level. So I think the scale is obvious. Like you're lying to yourself if you don't say that's different. The attention that's on the NFL versus what we're building, but being a part of something that is on the come up versus covering something that is established, it's very different. But there's a reason I'm here. I want to be doing this.
And I think what's amazing is that you're part of something that's going to be built and it's going to be important for the next generation as well. Yeah,
and you're seeing that. And I'll say this too. I think one of the things that is coolest for me, like we always think of like, what do the little girls think, right? And that's important to me. I don't want this to get twisted in any way to say that's not. But to me, like one of the coolest things I can do is get a little boy to wear a Crystal Thomas jersey. Yeah. That's when I know that we've done something really cool is like, can we get it to where everyone in this country goes, yeah, that's the best league in the world. Like those girls are awesome. And it's not just, we love Rose and Andy. Obviously, and I hint, Andy's going to be on the podcast soon. But like, it goes beyond just the national team. And that's when I know like, man, we've taken the next step. And that's what I'm looking forward to and hoping to try to build.
Definitely. So on that note, I was going to ask you, what is one of your favorite parts about working with women's professional soccer with the NWSL and the Washington Spirit?
It is cool to see something growing. And I think, the coolest part about this organization is the people in it. We're 25 for 25 and awesome people as players, or I guess right now we might be at 26, whatever number we're at. All of our players are amazing. Even Crystal, who went to Georgetown, is amazing. My rival school.
So what is I don't understand.
It's an old basketball rivalry. It's fine.
I get that, but what's with the big orange?
Our mascot?
Yeah, I don't understand the mascot. It's a big orange. Like, are you guys going to vitamin C us down?
What's a Hoya?
A Hoya is someone that you want to work at your organization.
Okay, you stole that answer from me telling you that I got that in an email reply from Trey Wingo of ESPN.
I think he said that's a good resume. But I think...
No, he said that was what did he say? A well-qualified job applicant.
He did. You're right.
That's what he said.
But I think it's someone you want at your organization.
I would agree with that.
They are going to fight to win.
But as far as your question... we have awesome people. Richie's from a media person standpoint, Richie is a dream come true because what a character. Seriously. But he's also, he is a character with character. He does truly care about you guys as people. And I appreciate that leadership from him on the technical side.
He really does.
And from Steve and the ownership side and how that infiltrates down our side, the business side of the office. So I just appreciate the people in it. And I told Steve this too. I don't think I've told this story. I don't know where I would have, but so this is the fun part about you interviewing me. You're doing a good job. I remember telling Steve at one point in the fall, when I first was like considering how do I get involved. At that point, I wasn't thinking full time, but I remember saying I miss being a part of a team.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not just like when you cover sports professionally, you lose your fandom, and so it's not even just like being a part of the team. Like fans feel like they're a part of the team, and they are. Fans play an essential role, and when you have to be a neutral observer at all times, you lose that. And so to truly be back on the inside and to be able to contribute to the betterment of the organization in some way, which hopefully, you know, everyone being happy and liking what we're doing can help be happy and contribute to winning. Like that's pretty cool to me, and that's something that I missed, and I'm excited to get back a part of once we obviously get back on the pitch.
All right, I love that. So last question.
Yes.
What is?
I feel like you're stalling now, so that you don't have to get interviewed by me.
I don't have to ask any questions.
I hope people listening are finding this interesting.
I just love asking you questions. It's really easy.
She just said my job was easy. That's what happened.
Didn't mean it that way. Just what is one of your goals for the season?
My goal that's a great question. A genuinely great question. I mean, I'm competitive in that. So like, you know, it's funny. I had this conversation with Mick Mixon, who's the play-by-play voice of the Panthers. And he always says, I try to win my matchup, you know?
Yeah.
Like when he's talking about, you know, the game on the field, he has no control over it. I have no control over what you guys do. I have full faith in you guys. I think we have a really talented roster, and that's awesome. Mm-hmm. But I want to be the best social media and like content creator in the league. Yeah. That's what I want to do. I don't know what that looks like. So that's like one part of it that I have as a goal. And I think the other part, and this is much more controllable because ultimately, like, there's no scoreboard for social media. It's subjective. And I hope that everybody does well. I hope that every single team is right there with us creating awesome content because that's the best for the league.
And growing the league, growing the game.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
So the true answer to that question would be this. I want to tell your stories. And that could be in an incredibly heartfelt, emotional way, which a lot of times we think of storytelling as. But it also means capturing the silly stuff. Mm-hmm. It also means capturing the camaraderie on what is a very close team. It matters to me to capture the authenticity of who the Washington Spirit are. Mm-hmm. That is my ultimate goal for this season and beyond. And if we can keep that in mind at all times of getting to know individuals, getting to highlight relationships between individuals, and telling the greater story of our team and our season, then I will have done my job.
Goal to me.
Cool. Thanks for interviewing me.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, Bernie, let's never do the cross interview thing again because it's not going to get better than that. She just killed it. Oh, it is? Okay. Well, I hope everyone else listens because you had good questions and the bar is high.
Thank you. You're a good interviewee. So.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So, you, Miss Crystal Thomas, let's work in reverse. Okay. Let's start with that moment last season. Okay. That game at Audi Field. What do you remember about walking out onto the field that day and experiencing an atmosphere, I'm guessing, unlike you had experienced before?
It was amazing. Well, actually, how it started, we walked out onto the field in the stadium. We always do a walkthrough, and that was great. Just walking around with my teammates, just thinking about the game, getting ready mentally, and I actually walked past Steve on my way back into the locker room, and I had been talking to some fans earlier, and I just wanted to relay the message to him that they were really excited about what we were building on our team and just thank him. So I just said, hey, Steve, I think we're doing a great job. I appreciate all the investment that you're putting in, and we're going to do our best to go out and win. And then Tom approached me before the match and said, hey, Crystal, I think this is really important. You need to make sure that you pressure the goalkeeper, and you need to be in the right places. And so I said, all right, I'll do it. Don't worry. I got you. So
Tom Torres, what does he know? Hi, Tom.
So, that's in the back of my mind going into the game. And then I'm seeing the stadium fill up, and I'm loving it. I had my family and friends there as well, which is huge, just knowing that they're there supporting me. And then in that moment, I just was just doing what we do in training. And then I saw my opportunity. I thought about it. Should I try to do this? Should I try to do that? I was like, no, just kick the ball in.
Right, because if you hesitate in that moment,
yes.
like, referees are going to be on top of you if you do anything wrong to a goalkeeper.
Totally.
And so if you hesitate at all, like, that doesn't happen.
Exactly. So I just ran over, saw the ball was right there, just kicked it right in. I like saw it go in as I was hitting the ground afterwards, and just like turned around, and I just like heard the roar of the crowd, just like, ah, like it was so loud. And I just ran back, jumped into my teammates' arms. We all were there, and it was an awesome moment for the team, I think.
Is that moment joy? Is it like, I'd imagine there's a small element of relief, like, yes, they didn't call a foul. Like, you know,
yeah, I mean, I didn't.
Like, what are you thinking as you're lying on the ground?
Because I knew that it was a clean play, so I was just thinking like, let's go, like let's keep going, like. So I just got up, and I think it was joy, like excitement, also a lot of different pieces coming together for myself and for the team, which I loved, and seeing all the fans there and all these people that some of them are loyal fans. They've been part of our organization and they have helped us get to where we are. Some of them were new. And so just like pulling them into what we're creating here was really cool. And just feeling like, wow, we're just going to grow this. It's going to keep getting bigger. And also feeling like my hard work is paying off. Like determination, it does play out. So that was awesome. And then I ran over to the bench to like hug the players that are on the sidelines. And Richie actually picked me up. I was hugging Richie, and there's this picture of like my legs like way out here, and like my body's up here, and I'm floating. Just you see everyone next to him, they're just like, whoa, because we were all very excited.
Yeah, you don't say.
It was our first game in Audi Field. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So that was a long answer, but there's mine.
No, it's a podcast. This is where long answers live.
This is where we talk.
Put that as a tagline. The podcast where long answers live. That's very, very cool. All right, so let's warp speed and then we'll close the gap.
Sorry. It was interesting that everyone else we were all in the right positions. So if you look at the video, you can see Ash, she's cutting off the other passing lane, and I've cut off their right center back passing lane. Yeah. So she didn't have options, and that's really what created it. Everyone else was in the right spot, and then I was in the right spot.
What did Tom say to you?
After the game, we had this moment. It was like, yeah. It's like, thank you, Tom.
That's great. Catch the Spirit is brought to you by WAGS. And WAGS not only brings you this podcast and the ability to get to know players like Crystal Thomas, but also brings you this entire trip to Florida. And while it hasn't been the trip that we all imagined and planned for, that is certainly not the fault of WAGS. And they have made so much possible for our club. They were one of our founding sponsors all the way back in 2013 and continue to support the club in new and innovative ways today. We cannot thank WAGS enough for everything they do, not just for us, but for women and girls in soccer around the DMV, around the United States, and around the world. And once being on a soccer field is something that we all can do again, we know that WAGS is going to be there for women and girls everywhere, no matter what they're doing, playing, coaching, refereeing. WAGS has had and will continue to have programs that make opportunities possible for women and girls in soccer. Again, on board with us since the very beginning. We can't thank WAGS enough for making this trip possible. We're making the best of an incredible gift and investment from them. So WAGS, thank you not only for our trip down here to Florida, but for everything you do, this podcast, and well beyond. So let's go all the way back now.
Okay.
To little baby Crystal. Tell me about life growing up. How many siblings did you have, and when did you start playing soccer?
So I have two brothers,
okay.
One older and one younger, and I think that they are the reason that I'm aggressive on the field. When you're getting ganged up on, you have no choice but to fight your way out. And it's interesting you asked this. The reason I started playing soccer, I was playing at recess with the guys, and I just was like, I want to beat them. Like, they just seemed to think that they were better than me, and I thought, I can be better than you. And so, no joke, I went home and told my dad I need to join a soccer team because I have to beat the kids at school.
Wow.
And I did.
How old were you?
That was the end of third grade. The other reason is because there was this other kid who also wasn't on a team, and he didn't really know the rules, and so he was doing things wrong, and I didn't really know the rules either. And so I was totally defending him, like, no, you can definitely do that. Like, you can block it like this, you can do that. And then I needed to join a team so I could learn the rules and beat these guys. Ironically, I'm still friends with one of them.
That's awesome.
Yes, and I did join a team, park and rec team, and then my dad, so, you know, it's not easy for families to have multiple kids in multiple sports, and it starts to get expensive and hard to navigate. So I was playing park and rec, and my dad would videotape all my games so we could watch them. And then there's this coach that comes on in one of the things. He was scouting players, and I'm like end of third grade. That's when I started playing.
Yeah.
And it's like, excuse me, are you Mr. Thomas? It's like, yes, who are you? Like, please don't bother me. I'm watching my daughter play soccer and taping it. So you can hear this on the tape, and then right then I stole the ball and went down and scored. And the coach is like, I'm interested in having your daughter play for my team. So I joined this team. We made the commitment to play travel club soccer. My dad sits me down, very serious. He says, Crystal, first of all, you say yes, sir, no, sir. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, which was very unpopular, by the way. And the second thing he says was, you might not get playing time, and you need to be okay with that. You're new on the team, and you're just going to have to be all right with that. Well, we had a great season, and I did play all the games, and started, you know, we won some championships, but it was very humble beginnings for sure.
That's really interesting, because I feel like most players, like, I had stopped playing soccer by the time you started.
Yeah.
Because I feel like everybody plays in, like, once you're 4 or 5, you know, maybe up to like 8 or 9, and then, you know, people start to go on their separate sports. But that's kind of when you started.
Totally.
When was the first time you realized you were really good?
Well, basically, as soon as I started, I just dove in, and I started learning all. So beginning of 4th grade.
Started with the rules. That was a good first step.
I learned the rules. That was great. And then I started doing research on Mia Hamm, because she was...
Happy birthday, Mia Hamm.
Yes.
Today is her birthday.
Amazing. It's...
Full circle.
Full circle.
And your Carolina Blue high polish there.
Yeah, exactly. Although, go Hoyas. So...
Edit that out.
No. But she was my hero. And so I started reading all of these books and biographies on her, watching her games, and my dad, who is really the hero of this story, he drove me to Minnesota to go, which was 8 hours from Chicago, to go watch this game of Mia Hamm, and I got to witness her score her 150th goal for the U.S. Women's National Team.
That's sick.
It was really awesome.
That's sick.
And I got her autograph after the game. I still have it. It was pretty cool.
That's really. Have you ever run into her in anything since then?
I haven't. I've run into some of her teammates and friends, like Julie Foudy, and gotten to speak with them and such stuff like that, which has been a huge honor. But I haven't run into her. But that trip was amazing, and I think I was maybe still in 4th grade at that point. I wrote an 8-page paper on Mia Hamm as a 4th grader.
That's really cool.
It was way too long for the project requirements, but...
I mean, is this like typed, or is this like your part of it is 4th grade handwriting where the letters are giant?
This was typed.
That's a long paper.
It was way too long, and my teacher was like, what are you doing? I don't have time to read this.
I've thought about that a lot as I've become an adult. Like, if you're a college professor, you assign 30-page papers. Do you really want to read all of them? Do they read all of them? This is a true story from college. Okay. Sidebar. Yes. I don't remember what the class was, but I had a professor at Syracuse that once wrote on a paper, this was one of the most enjoyable papers I've ever read, but you're missing half of the information, C-.
Oh my gosh. Wait a minute. I entertained you. I mean, like, did you want actual information from a broadcast major in a non-broadcast class? But at least, to me, honestly, that was a compliment, because I knew that I hadn't gotten the formatting right. I write for podcasts. What do you want from me? Here we are. We're doing podcasts, and we survived. I think it panned out for you. It's panned out. I can't even remember what the class is. It might have been a sociology one. Anyway. Actually, I think it was a philosophy class. I don't know. Nice. Stop. Never mind. I'm not going to say that on this podcast. Moving on. So, you take off real quick. Yeah. Playing travel soccer. I'm assuming then going up through the ranks, probably getting on more exclusive teams. When did you start getting recruited, and what was that process like for you? Wow, the recruitment process is insane. Yeah. First of all, I had an amazing first coach who made me do everything with both feet. That is helpful. Yes. And then he told me at one point, he said, listen, this team is going to hold you back. you need to play for a different team, which I think is so rare at the youth levels.
Absolutely.
Yes. So then I ended up.
What was the coach's name?
Kyle Walters.
Shout out Kyle Walters.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, Kyle. Thank you for the one-on-one training sessions. Those were huge, and he would charge us next to nothing because he was amazing.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So
but you need people like that.
You do.
Which, like, sidebar, is a problem at the youth levels, and even as you get into the lower level professionals, which I'm sure we'll talk about in some of your international career. Like in the women's game, it's tough because the money's just frankly not there the way it should be, and that hopefully we're on the path to getting it to be, but it's going to take a while for that to trickle down. And I know some really good professionals and some people that you know that you play with internationally that if they just had different coaches, maybe they're in the NWSL now, and instead they're a notch below or 2 notches below.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. True shout out to Kyle.
Definitely, and he's the kind of coach that I would want to be someday for my players, and good role model and stuff like that. Then I switched to play for Eclipse Select with Roy Dames, learned a lot. And I played for Soccer's FC with Oleg Vatches and David Richardson. Fantastic. Then I started getting recruiting for colleges. It's insane, very nerve-wracking. If you have questions, email me.
Give out your email on the podcast.
Instagram, direct message me.
There you go.
And I will try to respond. Because it's really hard for players. There's not a lot of information. People don't know what to do, how to prepare. And I visited, Notre Dame, UNC, some of my big dream schools, Marquette, other places like that. Ended up going to Notre Dame. Played there for 2 years, loved it, had a great experience. And then Randy, our coach, ended up leaving and ended up transferring to Georgetown, where I played for Dave Nolan and learned a ton from him. And then I started my professional career.
So how does that go down? I've always wondered, and I know it depends on the coach too, like coach makes a decision to leave. How does the coach then address that with the team? Are you getting like individual calls? Is it a team meeting? Like what's that process like? Because I imagine as much as we want to think that players commit to a school, you're committing to the coach. Like, let's be real.
It's important.
It's the single biggest factor. And it happens all the time in the college game where you can be sometimes a victim of your own success. Like if you have a great run and then all of a sudden the coach is getting recruited to a bigger job, which I don't know if that happened in this particular case, but that's super tough.
Yeah. So actually both Ken Newber, who I learned, he would also do individual sessions with me or with a couple players. He was also a coach at Notre Dame. He left, and then also Randy Waldrum did. So those were team meeting type group sessions. And then if we wanted to follow up and talk, they're definitely open for communication. And I still keep up with those coaches. And I think that's hugely important because maybe they're going to have something they need from me at some point. I can help them, or maybe I'll need a recommendation or something and I can talk to them. So I'm thankful for those relationships. But definitely that was a really tough time for a lot of the players.
Because also, let's not forget, like you're 20.
Right. I was, 20 years old, transferred.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So you get to Georgetown, things go well there. Did you know kind of all along that you were going to have a chance to play professionally, or was there a point in college where you're like, whoa, I think soccer's not done for me after I'm done with my NCAA career? So
it was always my goal since third or fourth grade when I started playing. I want to be a professional soccer player, and that was just kind of the path. And I think that it was fantastic in college being called up to youth national teams, under 20s, under 23s, and seeing, okay, I can do this. This is a real possibility. And then going on from there, my fifth year at Georgetown, we had a fantastic year and a fantastic group. Everybody was on the same page and committed, and that allowed us to make it to the College Cup for the first time in program history and win the Big East Championship.
The Big East, I miss it so.
I love the Big East. Actually, the only time I played against Syracuse was with Notre Dame my freshman year.
In the ACC?
And we won. Just so you know, in the last few minutes of the game, we scored, and just thought you should know that.
All right, it was great having Crystal Thomas. That seat's actually in the ejector seat, and she just got shot through the seat.
I'm out.
No, so that's cool. So, rewinding then to some of the youth national team stuff. What's it like to get that call for the first time, to get into a camp, and then and the experience you had with that?
It's awesome. And then you get there, and it's exactly what you had hoped. it's fantastic training. You're playing on a beautiful surface, playing soccer, scoring goals, just getting to do what you love as your entire day. It's really awesome. And getting to know the players and the coaches, and you learn a lot in a really short period of time.
Yeah.
I think that so I was in a few, youth national teams, and then getting to the U20s and the U23s. It's like, this is what I want. This is, obviously my goal is still to be on the U.S. women's national team, and that's one of the reasons I'm here. So for me, it's like, these are great building blocks, and I need to keep improving, keep progressing, so that this can be an option in the future. And that's just something that every player is hoping for.
Were there any of your current teammates that were on any of those youth teams? Because what I've learned as I've gotten more into the soccer space, this is an incredibly small world.
Yes, most of us have seen or played with or against each other at some point. Andy Sullivan, Rose Lavelle was on some of those teams, and Ashley Hatch and I actually were at a U23 camp together at the draft, the NWSL draft, when we were both leaving college. So that is actually where we first became friends.
That's really cool.
And then here we are. So very thankful for that.
Playing together up top.
Yes.
So your professional career, though, did not start in the NWSL. You've had a couple of different trips around, literally around the world, including some while you're in the NWSL. You played in Australia as well. Is that something you wanted to do necessarily to go internationally, or how did that come about, and how did you decide where you wanted to play?
Yes, it's a hard decision-making process, honestly. I think for me, it was timing and opportunity, matching up correctly, and then talking to people that I trusted about, is this a good league for me to play in? Should I go here? And along with talking to my agent. And so I ended up going to Norway, and I think one of the good things about playing in different spots is each country has its own style, so you can kind of take something from that and then carry on to the next thing, and then playing in Australia and playing back here. And I think the U.S. combines a lot of different things, so that's been advantageous.
Yeah.
But can I talk about some experiences that I've had? So in Norway, my dad had promised that he was going to come visit.
Okay.
And my dad drove me to soccer practices all growing up, made sure that it was an option, even when I was playing an hour away each way. Wow. Finding a way to do that. And my mom has always been super supportive. She's superwoman, so that always helps. But my dad promised to come, and it was the last week of the season, and he hadn't made it out from a variety of just family reasons. Things had come up, people were sick, etc. And I was talking on speakerphone to both of them, and I said, "Dad, you promised you'd come, and you didn't come." But I was mostly kidding. My mom heard. Oh boy.
Oh, goodness.
She's like, "Hon, did you promise?"
Oh no.
Yes.
Now she's in trouble with the both.
Now he's in trouble. So it was just like, yeah, sorry, it's just not going to happen this time. And there were some extenuating circumstances, and it's not exactly easy to get to the Arctic Circle of Norway.
Yeah.
So he just wasn't going to come, and I was eating dinner with some of my teammates one day, and all of a sudden we heard this like banging on our door. Kind of scared us because nobody ever knocks on our door.
Right.
We don't, we're not from here. And I was like, all right, guys, I'll get it. So I go downstairs and open the door, and my dad was there.
That's incredible.
Dad!
Oh, Dad.
Yes. So, and there was this really cool mountain near where we lived, and I really wanted him to see it. But when I had gone, it was still sunny and green and nice, and now it was snowing. And we were kind of in the middle of a snowstorm, but we didn't have a lot of time. So I said, "Dad, I really want you to see this view. It's really important to me." He's like, "Okay." Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We didn't have boots or like snow pants or any of those important things. So we just go to this mountain, and there's only 2 other people there, and they're Norwegians, and they're coming down because it's snowing and there's supposed to be a storm coming in. So they're like, "What are you doing, you Americans? Like, clearly you don't know what you're doing." We're like, "We know, we're just going to go up the mountain."
We're just going to go up the mountain.
We're just going to do it. So we're climbing up this mountain, and it's snowing, and it dawns on me halfway up the mountain. It's snowing and cloudy. He's not going to be able to see anything at the top. Oh no. So I'm like praying, "Lord, please help us to be able to see something when we get up there." Yeah. And because it's a mountain and it's windy, there's some drifts.
How long of a hike are we talking here?
It's not super long, but it's like the snow is at some points up to my waist and at some point at my knees. So sometimes you just like, because you can't see because there's snow, so you just like fall into the snow. So my dad was a champ and he was walking in front of me, and then I would try to walk where he was walking. And then
so if he fell off the side of the mountain.
Right. It's like, oh, thanks, Dad.
Yeah.
So,
well, guess I'm going to turn around and go home. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, this has been a great trip. We dragged one of my teammates with us as well. So that was great. So we're climbing up this mountain. We make it to the top. Finally, thankfully, I'm not kidding you, the clouds parted. The clouds parted.
That's awesome.
Yes, and we were surrounded by, it was basically a huge fjord. So there was water, and then you could see the next mountain jutting up on all sides except for one, which was just water. It was awesome. And then, no joke, we could see like black clouds coming in. So we were like, okay, time to go.
Yeah.
So we just like trekked down the mountain, got to the bottom. We were like, never doing that again. I am soaked, but I'm so glad we did it.
Yeah.
And so I got to show my dad the mountain, and that was great.
That is really cool.
Thanks.
I know you also played in Iceland.
Yes.
Which now leads to one of my favorite question series, perhaps.
Okay.
So a mutual friend of ours, Audrey Baldwin,
Yes.
who played in Iceland as well, who I got to know real well at Onyx Camp. We had a series with her that we called Odd Jobs because she had a bunch of very random jobs in Iceland.
They do that.
Did you also have to have random jobs in Iceland? And if so, please tell me about them.
Thankfully, I was pretty clear on that front.
Oh.
But occasionally,
I mean, good for you, but bad for the podcast.
Occasionally they would say, hey, we're having this event, do you mind serving the waters and other
So you didn't have
drinks?
to load cruise ships or work in a ketchup factory?
No, I didn't. I just played soccer and maybe coached some kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's good for you.
Which is great, but really challenging in a different language, let me tell you. It's just like,
I could imagine.
I know you guys don't speak English because you're Icelandic, and I don't speak Icelandic because I'm American, and Icelandic is so difficult. But I'll just point. It's soccer. It can't be that complicated.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yes.
And then how did did you play in Australia before you played in the NWSL, or did
No.
you? So how did you decide that playing in Australia once you got here? Actually, let's go in order here.
Yeah.
How did you eventually land in the NWSL? What's the story behind that?
Yeah, so I played in Norway, and then I played in Iceland and had a good season. Definitely NWSL was my goal, the next stepping stone. So I was looking to join a team, and I knew that Richie and Tom and the entire organization was building something good here. They were interested in me, so I came in and was signed pretty much right away, which was fantastic. And
That's nice.
that's how I ended up on this team, and couldn't be more thankful for the leadership that we have, and Tori and Andy and Aubrey. It's really been awesome, and I think that makes a huge difference for the rest of the team, and I hope for everyone else that's involved.
Yeah, for sure. I don't do anything without asking Tori.
Right.
So, hey, can
You just like,
do this?
you're like, Tori, is this cool? Okay.
This is a good thing. Yeah, Andy and Aubrey, now that Andy's here, same thing. Andy,
Yeah.
we're thinking about this
Yeah.
idea.
Does this work?
Can you check the wording on this tweet?
Does this
No,
work
we
for
don't
you?
bother her with tweets. Instagram. Kidding. So you wind up here, and then how did you decide to wrap up the international stuff before we land on pure spirit? How did you decide that Australia was the right off-season plan for you, besides the fact that the weather is slightly better than the Chicagoland winters?
Just slightly. For me, I've had a lot of friends that have played in Australia, and I thought that it would be really good to be sharp and fit and ready coming into our season. And I think I wanted to go there and do well, and then come back and be ready for our team. And I think hopefully that's what's happened. And I had a great experience there, scored some goals, got some assists, and got to experience the culture, meet some really cool people, and yeah, really thankful for that.
Did you pick up any Australian slang?
G'day, mate.
Is that it? That's it?
I mean, the one thing that I've started saying is, yeah, nah, because they say it constantly.
Yeah, nah.
Yeah, how was your day? Yeah, good. Yeah. Like, there's no reason for the yes, but it's almost like saying or like or something like that, which clearly you would try to stay away from those words in your line of work.
Yes. That is something you pick up very early when you're forced to listen to yourself a lot.
Yes.
You realize that when you don't have anything to say, you pause.
You have a filler, yes.
As opposed to going, into the space.
Don't use filler words. I'm learning. I've been listening to you, trying to emulate that.
Did you, I'm asking this partially selfishly, but also just because I'm genuinely interested.
Yeah.
Aubrey told me that she would listen to the podcast to get to know her teammates. Did you listen to any Catch the Spirits?
Definitely.
Yes. We're providing a public service, not only to the public, but a teammate service.
Especially the new players,
Yeah.
because I was in Australia, so I'm not getting to interact with them. I'm just like, okay, here we go. Let's hear from the rookies. Let's hear from the newcomers.
That's funny.
Great.
I'm glad we could help. Did you get to see Aubrey and Sam at all over there?
Yeah, I did. So I played against both of them twice, and it was really exciting games both times, and definitely a little bit of fun banter going on.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And played against them both. Got to have some good moments, which was good, and also see them in action in another setting.
With a couple of years of experience under your belt now, and being a professional as long as you have, but not just that, an NWSL professional for multiple years now, where do you see your game being better now than you were as a younger player?
I think a lot of what you learn in the pros is awareness and hopefully decision making, because it just becomes, each play becomes more important. So I think what our coaches were focusing on last year was good decision making. And so going on in that, and then also hopefully every single training session you're trying to progress, and every year you're trying to get better. I remember last year at the beginning of the season, our coaches said, if every single one of our players gets 1% better, imagine how much better the entire team will be and perform. Right. So for me, I'm always focused on getting better. I'm determined to become a better, more productive, more effective player. And I think, as I've heard Tori say, the biggest obstacle to that can be yourself. Mm-hmm. So for me, I'm just focused on that, locked in, and determined to continue to excel.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing that unlocks most athletes is, and this goes across all sports that I've covered, from NBA, NFL, Major League, or baseball's a weird one because the decision making is it's a lot of waiting and thinking and guessing, but it's not as reactive as these other sports are. But your ability to make decisions quickly is what separates the best from, there's a lot of people that are fast, there's a lot of people that are quick, there's a lot of people that are strong, but when you truly get to be more on the master's end of that decision making thing, that's when you kind of unlock your talent, your potential.
And I think that's something that I'm still needing to progress at, and I think a lot of us are, and that's why we go to training. That's why we're here. So hopefully over the course of the season that will continue to improve. I want to score some goals, get some assists, help us win some games, and that's what we're going to do.
Obviously you haven't had a chance to train much because of everything that we've been doing here, but when you look around and you see some of the talent around you, you know what an NWSL pro looks like. Are there any players that you're particularly excited to play with beyond the ones that you've played with already?
That's a great question. Actually,
about time I had 40 minutes into the podcast. Because I've only been asking them for 30, but who's counting?
who's counting? Not you, clearly. I just can't say that's a great question after every single question.
Facts.
So actually, I've seen a lot of them just right when we got here before everything got shut down. And I just think that we have a really strong group that's coming in, and they are bought in.
Yeah.
And having that mindset is going to be huge for us all season long. And I think it's that we mentality, and that we are going to commit to what the coaches are asking us to do, what our leaders are asking us to do, so that we can do everything possible to help us win.
One of the things that Richie's talked about a lot is how deep this team is.
Okay.
You're a veteran, right? So you played, you've had a lot of caps for this team. But there's going to be, not everyone can play, right? There's only 11. How do you handle that as a veteran? If all of a sudden it's your week to not be out there, how do you go about that and those conversations with teammates, and also just kind of keeping yourself in the right mental space?
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest challenges for people as professionals, because we got here because we like to play. Right, we like to compete, we like to win. That's why we're here. So when you take that away from someone, it's definitely a challenge. But I think working on your mental side, working on the ability to handle those situations is huge. And I think everyone is constantly evolving and growing with that. But I do want to be there for teammates when they're going through tough times, just like I've had teammates be there for me when I'm going through a challenge. So hopefully I can do that. And we will definitely take that in stride as we go.
Yeah, and then you'll get back out there and you'll score some goals because that's what you do.
Exactly.
Sniping goalkeepers and every other way you can score.
Yes.
Let's wrap with this, a question you asked me earlier, the last one you asked me earlier.
Okay.
What is your goal for this season?
Definitely. I think our team, and that is my goal, is for us to make the playoffs and go all the way and be champions. And I think my role in that is to be the best possible teammates on and off the field. So I'm going to be prepared. I'm going to show up to training well rested as much as I can and mentally ready, physically ready. And then on game day, do my job. Put the ball in the back of the net, get the ball to my teammates, put them in good situations, try to make each other look good, and just fight really, really hard. So that is a multifaceted goal, but I would say that that's what I'm hoping to do.
At the end of the day, it all goes into winning.
Yes. Help us win.
Yes. But I appreciate the specifics.
Yeah.
This was a lot of fun. I very much appreciate you taking the time to do this. And now I guess we go do whatever we can do to kill time until whatever it is that we do next.
So we find out what's going to happen next.
Yeah. To everybody listening, we really appreciate you guys continuing to support the club in every way that you have. It has been an interesting time for us all. We're thinking about everybody back home in the DMV and our supporters all around the country and all around the world. Stay safe. Please be smart. There's a lot of guidelines out there from a lot of really smart people whose job it is to keep us safe, and listen to them. And that's pretty much it. Thanks so much to Crystal. Thanks to Bernie for operating the video. If you want to watch on YouTube, you can check out this podcast in this very swanky room that we have found ourselves in, with room not only for a good set, but safe social distancing.
Yes.
And make sure you follow everybody on social media as well. Crystal, you are
C Thomas Go
on Instagram.
And
is that on Twitter as well? Same handle? Or
on Twitter, I am C Thomas 22.
Okay.
Yes. But thank you to all of our fans. We really appreciate you guys. And I also really like getting the messages, the individual messages and support. So thank you very much.
We'll end it right there. I'm Craig. She's Crystal. Thanks for listening to Catch the Spirit. And we'll be back with Andy Sullivan next time here on Catch the Spirit.